Hey, this is Kara Drum for the Face Paint Forum Shop, and today I have this crazy little creepy zombie bunny guy inspired by this photo that I could not find an original artist for despite Google image search. If anybody knows where it came from, please give him credit. It was just really cool. My son loved it. So right now I'm just sponging some Crivolene Brown in a really messy way over his forehead, under his eye socket, and down the top of his cheek. And then I'm taking a sponge loaded up with some Crivolene Yellow, sticky yellow paint, and just tapping BAM Stencil 4001 onto his cheeks. This is just going to serve as the background for our design. I'm going to paint the bunny's eyes. The first eye is super little. It's a little tiny petal shape angled up to the corner, the inside corner of his eye. And then the second eye for the bunny is actually really rather large, and it looks odd, but it's just going to give the perspective of the face slanting away. So it's just a straight up and down oval. Okay, and I'm going to use some Crivolene Magenta and just paint an upside down triangle in for the rabbit's nose. Loading up some Wolf White on my Low Cornell No. 5 brush, I'm going to paint a nice big chubby oval for the bunny's cheeks, just following up the corner edge of that triangle and tucking it right underneath the big eye. And then the second cheek just kind of comes around. It's a little bit smaller because the face is angled away. And then I'm going to pull down a long, overly large tooth for the rabbit. And then I'm just going to sketch in a tiny little bottom tooth for his bottom teeth. Okay, using some Crivolene Light Blue on that same Low Cornell No. 5 brush, I'm going to trace up from his nose and around his eye and bring his cheek around to the bottom. And we're just going to fill that in. Yeah, the bottom of his little nose, that white oval. Just fill that in with some blue. And then I'm going to drag the forehead across and then tuck the other side of his cheek down around the other little tiny eye, just meeting up with the other side of his nose. And filling that all in. To paint the ear, I started up on his forehead, just painting an upside down. Oh, before I did the ear, just do like a little figure 8 to make a little bunny chin underneath. This really tiny little bunny chin under his bottom teeth. Okay, so I'm going to paint an upside down triangle for the fold over on the rabbit's ear, and then I'm going to drag 2 lines down to meet the side of his head and then the top of his head. I'm going to leave a space between them empty because I'm going to fill that in with some pink in a little bit, and then do the same thing on the other side. Just paint an upside down triangle for the fold over and drag 2 lines down. I went right across his eyelid and then just 2 little lines underneath his bottom lashes. And you can see when I move my hand what I did there. Just leaving them between those 2 lines blank because I'll fill it in with some pink. Alright, taking some red paint loaded up on my same brush, I'm going to tuck a little red tongue behind his upper tooth. And while I still have some red on my brush, I'm going to drag some red irritated wiggly lines, they don't have to be perfect at all, around his eyes. And then I also drug a red upside down triangle because we're going to fill it in with some white to make it look like his skull is exposed. Alright, using some Crivolene Light Pink, I'm dragging some drooly pink bits down from the bottom of his cheek to connect to the bottom of his jaw, and I did that on both sides. Just kind of alternate the lines from thin to thick, and they don't have to be neat at all. They can be kind of messy. And then I'm going to take the same pink and fill in the ears. Now I'm going to take my little tiny No. 2 Low Cornell liner brush loaded up with some Wolf Black, and I'm going to fill in the back of his mouth, just kind of tracing around those little pink like squiggly lines. I also put a little bit of black dots kind of in between on top of those pink lines to make them look like they're separated. And then I traced around that outside one. And I used my black to define the teeth, the bottom chin. Everything's going to get a black outline eventually. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to take some more light pink now that the nose is really dry, and I'm just going to lighten it up, almost like give it a little highlight. I took some orange, it's just Crivolene orange, and I'm just going to define the eye, the inside of the eye, and drag down a real long, creepy pupil. And then whatever was left on that brush of the orange, I just drug down his tooth to make it look kind of grungy and gross. And then back to my liner brush, I defined his tooth and I traced around each cheek and traced the nose. And I'm going to go around the outside of his eye, around the red, and trace that. 3 little dots for his whiskers, and these squiggly, crazy whiskers do a lot to really make this bunny look a mess. So they're kind of fun. Using my white, I'm going to go in and fill in that little triangle where we are making it look like his skull is exposed. And I'm going to go around and kind of add some highlights onto those pink drooly bits that are kind of hanging down. I just kind of dotted some highlights just around his nose too, around the red of his eye, and anywhere else I thought needed to stand out. Okay, back to my liner brush and the black, everything gets an outline. Just stay on the tip of your brush and do your best to make it as neat as possible. And then I switched to a dry filbert brush, just kind of got it into my black paint, and right now I'm just putting in some highlights, just in the corner of each eye, under the fold of each ear, or not highlights, I'm sorry, shadow, under the fold of each ear, and then underneath his nose on his tooth, also got a shadow. If you were doing this as an on-the-job design, you could totally skip the bottom jaw and just paint the tooth and maybe just take some blood dripping off of it. The bottom jaw, the tongue, the drooly pink bits, they're a little detail oriented and time intensive. So if you just wanted to totally take that part away and just do the tooth, you could. Anyway, that is the design. I finished it up with some splatters and green paint. I hope you like it. I've been asking my son if I could paint an Easter design on him, and he found this, and I hope you like it.